The day my sister's cleaner whispered something strange to me,
Don't
I
recheck her
almost
name
laughed.
in that
3
document.
days later, I understood every word. The cleaner pressed a folded piece of paper into my hand as I was leaving my sister's house and whispered, "Do not let them change your name on that document. Not even one letter. Check everything before you sign." I thought she was confused, mixing me up with someone else. I almost threw the paper away without reading it. 3 days later, I was sitting in a lawyer's office, staring at a document that had my name on it, spelled slightly, carefully, deliberately wrong. My name is Adeze Mosu Chukwu. I am 52 years old. I have lived in Port Harcourt my entire life, in the same neighborhood in GRA where my father built our family home in 1981, the year I was born. I am the third of 4 children. In his will, which he prepared with his longtime solicitor, Mr. Obiechina, 3 years before his death, he divided his estate into 4 equal parts, 1 share each. Clear, simple, fair. The family home in GRA, the house where we all
This is
grew
my
up,
house.
he
It's so
left
lovely to be
specifically
home.
to me.
I love
Not
coming
because
back
I
here
was
every
his
day.
favorite. He said so himself in a letter he left with Mr. Obiechina to be read after the will. Adeza stayed, the letter said. When her siblings built their own lives elsewhere, Adeze stayed close. She brought me to hospital appointments. She sat with me during the long evenings. She cooked my pepper soup the way her mother used to make it. I am leaving her the house not as a reward, but as a recognition. She earned it simply by being present. I wept when Mr. Obiechina read those words. I wept again later that evening, alone in the kitchen of that same house, stirring a pot of soup I had no appetite to eat. 14 months had passed since then. The estate was still being settled, slowly, as these things always are in Nigeria, with paperwork moving between offices at the pace of tired bureaucracy. I had been patient. Mr. Obiechina had been diligent. Things were nearly concluded. And then came the invitation from Chinyere. "Chinyere, come and spend the weekend with me," Chinyere said over the phone. Her voice was bright, warm, the way it always is when she wants something. "I have missed you. Bring nothing, just yourself." Chinyere lives in a large, well-furnished house in Peter Odile Estate. Her husband, Barrister Festus Obi, is a property lawyer. They have done very well for themselves. Nice car, nice furniture, 2 children in private school in Port Harcourt, 1 studying in the UK. I had no reason to be suspicious. Chinyere and I had always been close enough. We called each other every few weeks. She had been at our father's funeral, composed and elegant as always. We had not quarreled. There was no visible crack between us. So I packed a small bag and drove to her house on a Friday afternoon in November, just as the rainy season was finally giving way and the air was beginning to carry that dry, dusty edge that announces Harmattan is coming. Chinyere received me at the door with a hug and a glass of cold zobo. "You look tired, Ada," she said, studying my face in that clinical way of hers. "I am fine, just busy." Festus came down the stairs almost immediately, too quickly, as if he had been listening for the door. He shook my hand with both of his, smiling broadly. "Ada, welcome. How is the estate settlement going? Everything nearly concluded?" It was a strange thing to ask before even offering me a seat. I noticed it. "Nearly," I said. "Mr. Obiechina says 1 or 2 more documents and we are done." "Good, good," he nodded slowly, as if filing the information away somewhere. "These things must be properly concluded. Family property is very sensitive." He said it like a man who had been thinking about it for a while. We sat down to dinner, egusi soup, pounded yam, fish stew. The conversation stayed easy and ordinary on the surface. School fees, Port Harcourt traffic. I felt something tighten in my chest. After dinner, I helped Chinyere carry plates to the kitchen. "The house," Chinyere said as soon as we were alone, her voice dropping slightly. "Papa's house in GRA. Have you thought about what you would do with it long term?" "I live in it, Chinyere," I said. "Yes, but it is a big house for one person. What if we held it jointly, all of us, a family home, so any of us visiting Port Harcourt always has somewhere to come back to?" I set down the cup in my hand. Papa left it to me, Chinyere, I said quietly. I know he did, she smiled quickly. I'm not challenging anything, just thinking out loud. Think about something else, I said quietly. Papa's decision was clear. Chinyere's smile stayed perfectly in place. Of course, forget I said it. But I could not forget it, and I could not forget the way Festus had asked about the estate settlement before I had even sat down. That night, lying on the guest bed in Chinyere's house, I stared at the ceiling and listened to the sound of Festus's voice from somewhere down the corridor, low, careful, on the phone late at night. I could not make out words, but I could make out the tone. It was the tone of a man making arrangements. The next morning, the house cleaner arrived at 9 a.m. She was a small, quiet woman called Mama Uju, who clearly worked for Chinyere for years, from the way she moved through every room without hesitation. She did not make eye contact with me. She mopped, she wiped, she straightened, invisible the way good domestic workers learn to be. I was by the bookcase in the sitting room when Chinyere stepped out to take a phone call on the veranda. Mama Uju appeared in the doorway with a mop, glanced once toward where Chinyere had gone, then moved close to where I stood. She did not look up from the floor. Madam, she said very quietly, check whatever they ask you to sign. Do not let them put any wrong spelling on your name, even one letter. It will cause you big trouble. I went completely still. What did you say? She kept mopping. Her face gave nothing away. I have said it, ma. That is all I can say. Chinyere's voice drifted in from the veranda, still on the phone, getting louder. She was walking back inside. Mama Uju moved the mop in wide, unhurried arcs and did not look at me for the rest of the morning. I left after lunch, making an excuse about a friend. Chinyere hugged me warmly at the door. I drove home with my hand steady on the wheel and my mind moving very fast. Do not let them put any wrong spelling on your name, even one letter. What document? I had not been asked to sign anything. Mr. Obiechina had not mentioned any new paperwork beyond the final estate document scheduled for Wednesday. So where was this document coming from? And how did a house cleaner know about it? I called my brother Emeka that evening. Has anyone contacted you about the estate recently? Any new documents? A pause. Actually, yes. Festus called a few weeks ago, said there was a small clerical error in the original property schedule. He sent some correction documents. I signed and posted them back. Why? My stomach dropped. Did you read everything carefully? Of course, it looked straightforward. Just address corrections for the Transamadi properties. Was the GRA house mentioned anywhere? Silence, longer this time. Emeka, Ada, there was a paragraph about residential properties. I assumed it was standard language. Should I find the copy I kept? Find it. Send it to me tonight. I called Ngozi in Abuja before Emeka had hung up. Festus sent you documents too? She replied carefully. Last month, he said Mr. Obiechina asked him to coordinate since he's a barrister. Ada, what is going on? Did you sign? A correction document, yes, for Transamadi. There was a section, he called it a joint family asset reclassification. He said it was just for clean title registration for all of us. Ada, my voice came out flat and quiet. Papa left that house to me, not to all of us, to me, alone. You heard Mr. Obiechina read the will. Silence. Send me what you signed tonight. Both of you. I put the phone down and sat at my father's dining table, my table now, and understood exactly what was happening. A property lawyer husband, a weekend invitation to soften me up and ask gentle questions over dinner, two siblings abroad who trust family and sign things when a familiar face calls it routine, and me, the last signature they needed, the only one still missing because I was the one the document was actually aimed at. I arrived at Mr. Obiechina's office 2 hours before our scheduled Wednesday appointment and sat across from him without preamble. Has Barrister Festus Obi been in contact with your office recently?
Mr. Obiechina's face shifted, just slightly, just enough. He contacted us, yes. He said he was coordinating on behalf of the family since the siblings overseas found it easier to work through someone local with legal knowledge. Did he file any documents? Mr. Obiechina slowly removed his glasses. 2 weeks ago, he submitted what he described as a corrective filing, administrative corrections to the estate property schedule. He had signatures from your brother and your sister already attached. He opened a drawer and slid a folder across the desk. I read it line by line, the way you read something when you know there is a trap buried somewhere inside it. Transamadi properties, correctly described. Warehouse and truck assets, correctly apportioned. And then on the third page, tucked beneath a dense paragraph of legal language, a reclassification of the GRA residential property from sole inheritance to joint family estate, held equally by all 4 siblings, 25% each. Which meant Chinyere's share was 25%. And since Barrister Festus Obi was her husband, a property lawyer who understood exactly how a minority stake in a jointly held estate could be used to force a sale, file injunctions, or simply make the owner's life expensive and exhausting, that 25% was never really Chinyere's at all. I put the document down. "My name," I said. "How is it spelled?" Mr. Obichina looked closely. His frown deepened. "It says Adazi Nwosu Chukwu." He paused. "Without a hyphen. Your surname in the original will reads Nwosu hyphen Chukwu." I felt the cold settle into my bones. Without the hyphen, my name did not exactly match the will. Without the hyphen, a clever lawyer could argue in court in front of a registry official, anywhere confusion could be manufactured, that the beneficiary named in the original document and the signatory on the corrected filing were technically different records. It would not hold up forever, but it would create enough fog, enough delay, enough hearings and adjournments and fees to grind a person down into settling for whatever was offered just to make it stop. Even one letter wrong, it will cause you big trouble. Mama Oju had seen the document somewhere in that house, on Festus's desk in his study. She had seen my name with something missing, and she had taken the only moment she had to warn a stranger. "I am not signing this," I told Mr. Obichina, "and I need to know, has it been processed?" "Submitted but not yet registered. If you formally object now as the primary affected beneficiary, we can withdraw it before it goes through." "Then let us do it now, today." I drove to Chinyere's house directly from Mr. Obichina's office. She answered the door in her yellow blouse and Ankara wrapper, and her face moved through surprise, then warmth, then something she could not quite control underneath both of those. "Ada, where is Festus?" "Caught." "Ada what?" "Sit down with me." I placed the folder on the coffee table between us and watched her look at it. "Tell me what this is." Chinyere's composure was remarkable. She had always been composed. Even as a child, caught doing something wrong, she would hold her face steady while she assembled her explanation. "Ada, I can explain." "Then explain." She was quiet for a long moment. "Festus said it was the fairest outcome, that Papa was unwell when he wrote the will, that he was not thinking. Papa wrote that will 3 years before he died. He was sharp and fully himself. Mr. Obichina has the full record. Festus knows that. He is a lawyer. He read the will." Silence. "He knows this reclassification would not survive a serious court challenge. What it would survive is making my life difficult for years, expensive years, exhausting years, until I give up and settle or sell." Chinyere looked down at her hands. "And my name, Chinyere, the hyphen, was that also Festus being careful?" She said nothing. "He told me," she repeated, almost to herself, hearing herself say it, understanding perhaps for the first time what those words actually meant. I looked at my little sister, the beautiful one, the charming one, our mother's Nwaoma, and I did not feel anger. I felt something closer to grief. "I am not going to fight you, Chinyere. I am your sister. But I need you to call Emeka and Ngozi today and tell them exactly what this filing was, and I need Festus to formally withdraw it from the registry today. He will not be happy. He forged a correction document, misspelled my name on purpose, and used my siblings' signatures to try and steal my inheritance. He should be worried about considerably more than being unhappy." Chinyere reached for her phone with a hand that was not entirely steady. She called Emeka first, then Ngozi. I sat across from her and listened to her explain it, haltingly, quietly, in a voice that grew smaller with every sentence. Festus withdrew the filing 4 days later, formally, silently. No explanation, no apology, just a withdrawal notice through Mr. Obichina's office, the way a hand quietly takes back a card it had played too soon. The original estate documents proceeded as Chief Nwosu Chukwu had intended. The GRA house was transferred to my name, my correct, fully hyphenated name, and registered at the land registry without incident. Emeka called from Houston. I should have read it more carefully. The shame in his voice was genuine. I said, you trusted family. That is not stupidity. That is just what trust looks like before it is broken. Ngozi cried. I let her. Festus I did not speak to again. Some distances, once created, are better left in place. 3 weeks later, I went to Chinyere's house on a Tuesday morning with a bag of chin-chin from the shop near the GRA market that she has loved since we were girls. Mama Oju was cleaning the entrance hallway when I arrived. Chinyere went to the kitchen to get drinks. I stayed near the door. Mama Oju, I said, thank you for what you told me that Saturday. Something shifted in her face. Not surprise, more like recognition, like someone who had hoped the message arrived and was now finding out it had. How did you know? What made you say something? She straightened slowly, cloth in both hands. I cleaned that office, she said simply. Sometimes papers are on the desk. I cannot read everything, but I can read names. I saw your name with something missing, and I saw the other papers around it. She paused. My own mother lost her land that way. One wrong letter, one document she did not read before she signed. The people who did it were also family. I could not speak for a moment. I'm sorry about your mother, I said. It was long ago, she said, but I did not want to watch it happen to another woman and say nothing. Chinyere came back from the kitchen with a tray. Mama Oju bent back to her work. The moment folded itself away quietly, like the way important things sometimes do. Not announced, not celebrated, just done. Tonight, I am sitting on the veranda of my father's house. My house. The Harmattan has arrived in full now. That dry, cool, bone-clean air that sweeps in from the north and coats everything in a fine pale dust. The flamboyant tree at the gate has dropped its last red flowers. The generator hums next door. Port Harcourt settles into its noisy, stubborn evening. I think about Mama Oju, who risked her job to tell the truth to a stranger, who gained nothing from it except the private satisfaction of breaking a pattern that had already broken her mother. I think about my father, who knew all 4 of our children and chose his words for each of us with care, who left me not just a house, but a letter that said simply, I saw you. I think about how easily it could have gone the other way. A signature on a Wednesday morning, a missing hyphen, a document I did not read carefully because it arrived through familiar hands and was called routine. The thing about staying, I have come to understand, is that it makes you a target as much as it makes you an heir. When you are the one who remained, who drove to the hospital at midnight, who cooked the pepper soup, who answered every phone call, you earn something that people who left cannot earn. But you also become the proof of what they missed. And that sometimes is not easy to forgive. I do not say that with bitterness. I say it the way you state a fact about Harmattan. It comes every year. You close the windows before the dust gets in. You read the document before you sign. You learn that a whisper from a quiet woman with a mop can be worth more than years of warmth from a familiar face. The night deepens. Somewhere down the road, music from a neighbor's compound. The smell of someone frying plantain. Life continuing, indifferent and generous at once. I pull my wrapper closer and pick up my cup of tea. The house is mine. That is enough.
Did this story find you? Tell me in the comments which city you are watching from. I have 2 more on the screen right now, both just as gripping. Click one and let us keep spending this time together. With love and respect, see you in the next story.